Hello, and on behalf of the Archdiocese of San Francisco, welcome to Mosaic. Today we're going to talk about education and about a local educational tradition, a local educational treasure that many of us may not know much about. These are Catholic schools. This tradition of local Catholic education began more than a century and a half ago. From the beginning of the city, Catholic schools have been here. Today, throughout the three counties of the San Francisco Archdiocese, San Francisco, Marin, and San Mateo counties, there are Catholic schools in many neighborhoods, many zip codes, offering education from preschool to elementary school to high school. More than 60 schools, I believe, and serving about 25,000 students. We'll get the facts on those numbers, and we'll find out lots more, because our guest today is Pamela Lyons, the Superintendent of Schools for the Archdiocese of San Francisco. From her, we'll find out, what are the Catholic schools today doing? Whom do they serve? How do they serve? And how can they adapt to changing educational needs? And if you're interested in Catholic education, you'll find out more, and you'll find out how you could help. After this brief break, please rejoin us to meet Pam Lyons, Superintendent of Schools, and learn about the educational treasure in our neighborhoods. Hello and welcome back to Mosaic. Our guest today is Pamela Lyons. Pam, can I call you Pam?
Absolutely.
All right, Pam Lyons. She is the Superintendent of Schools for the Archdiocese of San Francisco. And Pam, you've worked at the Archdiocese for a while, but your appointment as Superintendent of Schools is new. Is that right?
Yes, actually, I've just completed my third month in the position. Prior to that, I was an Associate Superintendent for about 2.5 years. And in that capacity, I worked primarily with our catechetical faith formation program for our elementary school teachers. We are Catholic schools, and we want to make sure that all of our teachers know absolutely everything they can about Catholic identity and about their Catholic faith, so they can pass that on to our students.
All right.
I also worked on our accreditation program. So all of our schools in the Archdiocese of San Francisco are dual accredited through WCEA, which is the Western Catholic Education Association, and WASC, which is the Western Association for Schools and Colleges.
Yeah, I've heard about this double accreditation for Catholic schools.
That's correct,
right.
Yes. So we have the, so we're very proud of that, and I ran that program for 2.5 years. And then I also implemented, worked on the implementation of a new testing system for our elementary schools called Renaissance STAR. And it is a very short test that students take on the computer that will sort of check in with them on their math and their reading skills. And it allows teachers to give the test several times a year, and then they can see the progress and the growth, which is what we're really interested in. And if they're seeing an area that needs some help with a particular student, they can go in and work with that particular student on what their needs might be. So we're very proud that we implemented that system.
That sounds great. And I've heard you referred to as a person who's data-driven. You want to make sure you have the right facts, and based on those, you take the right actions. Right. Tell me something about your own biography and career. You've done other things in your life. I
have, yes. Well, first of all, Catholic education has been a huge part of my life. I attended Catholic schools from first grade all the way through graduate school. And for 4 years, my family lived in London, and I even attended Catholic school in London. So Catholic schools played a very, very big part of my life.
Let me ask you about that. You said Catholic college. You went to...
I went to St. Mary's in Moraga, where I got my undergrad and my teaching credential.
All right.
And then I went through a program called the Marianne Remick Leadership Program through the University of Notre Dame, where I received my master's degree in educational leadership and also my administrative credential.
And you've been a classroom teacher in a Catholic school.
I have, yes.
And a principal.
I have. I started my career out in the Diocese of Oakland, where I was a teacher. I taught everything from second grade all the way through to junior high. And then I became a principal of a school in San Leandro called Assumption, and I was principal there for 9 years. before moving over to the diocese, to the Archdiocese of San Francisco. And so I think you had a corporate career in between these teaching stints, yes, right? I did. I actually, I left teaching for a while when I was in my, I was just about to turn 30, and I thought, oh, I want to see what the business world is like. And so I left teaching for a while, and I worked for a tech company where I was a technical trainer. And I enjoyed it. I traveled a lot, but in my heart, I really missed education. education, and particularly Catholic education. But that experience, I was able to bring the business experience into my role as a principal and now into my role as a superintendent, which I think has been beneficial.
That sounds great. Yeah, I mean, people who have a skill for instructing children, that's one thing, but people who can sustain and manage an institution, how do you combine those skills?
It takes a different, some different skill sets. So, yeah, I was very fortunate.
Well, let me ask you a little bit about the context in which you're working in this new job. I mentioned some statistics that I had found somewhere about 60 schools, 25,000. But what's the real statistical picture of our archdiocesan schools?
Well, in the Archdiocese of San Francisco, we serve a little more than 24,500 students. We have 48 elementary schools and 4 high schools that are part of the Archdiocese.
Okay.
And then also within the Archdiocese, we have 8 elementary schools and 10 high schools that are run by orders of sisters or orders or different congregations.
Okay.
So that's sort of the makeup of our Archdiocese.
Very interesting sort of diversity. The Archdiocese owns some schools, but other congregations own their schools, run them, and so on.
Yes. So there's lots of choices.
And preschool programs
We have about 21 preschools. Many are associated with elementary schools. Some are just parish preschools.
Yeah.
And that's growing. That number is growing.
What a diversity. And you have schools in the poorest neighborhoods, if I can say that, and in the richest neighborhoods. I mean, a diversity of people are welcome to the schools.
Absolutely. And I mean, Catholic education began in the United States to serve immigrant populations.
Yeah.
And so that's very important to us, that we continue to serve all of our students, not just one, section of our population.
And let me ask this. You welcome non-Catholic families to your schools, to your Catholic schools?
We do. We have about 28% of our students that are non-Catholic. So while we are definitely Catholic schools and, we teach religion every day and we do have a rich sacramental life, we certainly welcome non-Catholic students, and they participate in our religion classes and our sacramental life, but they also bring something different and unique to that experience. So we absolutely welcome those students and their families into our communities.
That's very interesting. Now, you have a large need for financial aid, I believe, because you're not drawing from the richest populations into your schools. What's the picture on financial aid that you...
Well, we're very fortunate in the Archdiocese because we do have a program. It's a family grant program where families in need can apply to the through the Archdiocesan Family Grant Program. Last year, for the 2016-17 school year, we were able to award $1.2 million in tuition assistance.
That's an annual outlay of tuition assistance. Wow,
correct. So we're very fortunate that years ago someone had the foresight to start an endowment that we are now able to draw from to support our students.
That's wonderful. Wow. I'd like to learn more about that and about ways in which people can support the endowment in the schools. And we'll talk more about what the successes of the Catholic schools have been and what kind of innovations you are looking at now to improve things.
Wonderful.
So we'll be back after this brief break with more from Pam Lyons and the Catholic schools. Hello, and we're back with Pam Lyons, Superintendent of Schools for the Archdiocese of San Francisco, talking about Catholic schools today. So Pam, you just mentioned a very large outlay of financial aid to families in need, and I wanted to find out from you what the Catholic schools as a group are doing. I know they're diverse and individualistic, but what are they offering in terms of educational innovation or educational excellence now?
I think a lot of people think of Catholic schools as not being very innovative or very up on the latest pedagogy and sort of the latest research on what works. But we're actually doing a lot of very innovative things in our schools that I'm very excited about. Huh. Of course, Catholic identity is always at the center of all we do.
That's highly important.
It is. It really dictates everything from the budget to the curriculum to how we discipline students. It permeates everything we do at our Catholic schools.
And I think it's a major part of the burden of running a Catholic school, in that a secular school has only to teach secular subjects, I guess. You have to teach all those, do it very well, and add a thorough grounding in the Catholic element.
and integrate that Catholicity through all of our subjects.
Yeah.
So it's not just that we're, we're a public school with a religion class.
And hardworking teachers.
Very hardworking. I mean, our teachers and our principals are at our Catholic schools because they truly believe in Catholic education. They want to be there. They are some of the most dedicated, dynamic people that I've had the opportunity to work with.
And you're going to tell us about their training in catechesis and what they're doing in Catholic identity, but I think it's important to talk about their professional qualifications as well. There's a notion that Catholic school teachers, don't have teaching credentials or don't have certifications, but this is a myth.
Right, absolutely. All of our teachers have either California teaching credentials or are in a program to get their California credential. Some have credentials from out of state and still need to get the California credential. And many of our teachers and all of our principals have advanced degrees, master's degrees, and we even have some with doctorates. So educating our teachers and our leaders is very, very important to us.
So tell me more about that. You were starting to talk about Catholic identity. And
yes, so we have some very exciting partnerships with two particular groups that we just started last year. One is with the Sophia Institute, which provides catechetical training for elementary school teachers. And we had a class last year, and we're offering several this year, so we're very excited about that. And then for our high schools, we've been partnering with Notre Dame, my alma mater, and we created an institute for teachers of science and teachers of religion in high school, and how science and religion are compatible, because a lot of people, particularly younger people, see the two as being sort of exclusive, mutually exclusive. And we want to educate our teachers so that they understand that actually they're not two separate things, that religion and science do go together, and particularly in the Catholic tradition.
And you've had a summer program, I think, on this topic, right?
We did. This past June, we had about 63 teachers come to the St. Patrick's Seminary, where we held our first institute, and it was very successful. We were very pleased.
And I think you can draw on, I mean, we have a big scientific community in this area, and I know there are some Catholic professors and scientists and researchers around this area.
Absolutely, and we're already looking to plan our next day, our next institute day. So we're going to definitely tap into some of that talent.
That sounds great. And then you tell me about some other kind of innovative classroom behaviors. I mean, I'm a certain age. We went to a classroom, we sat in rows of desks, and we opened a book, and that was about it. There was chalk.
Right.
But now, it sounds, you mentioned something called Makerspace?
Yes. Well, I think, we're preparing students for a very different world than we were preparing students, even 50 years ago. I mean, really, even when I went to school. So we need to innovate, change the way we teach a bit. I mean, the basics, obviously, very important. Those aren't going away. But we need to prepare students to work in an environment where they're going to be working collaboratively with other people. There are very few jobs now where you just sit by yourself in a cubicle. They need to be able to problem solve, to think creatively, and all of those skills. I mean, we live very close to Silicon Valley, and those are the skills that those companies are looking for. So many of our schools have really taken a look at how they're educating their students and started to make some changes. Makerspace is a perfect example. Makerspace is a room where students can come together. They can create things, they can use technology, they can use laser printers, and they can problem solve. Typically, what you'll see is maybe in a math class or a science class, the students are given a large problem, and they need to figure it out. And so it's not just, rote learning, but it's actually digging into the knowledge that they've received to solve problems and to create things and to work together. So many of our schools are moving in that direction. We also have many schools with robotics programs.
That's interesting. I've seen this in high schools.
Yes, and we have several elementary schools that have implemented robotics as well as coding. So we want to meet the needs of our students, obviously spiritually, but also academically, so that when they go out in the world, they can, I always say they can change the world on their way to heaven. That's our goal.
That's a very good motto. And let me ask you this. In general, I mean, the goal for every student, I think, is certainly through secondary education and to college. Is that
absolutely
fair to say?
Absolutely. Our students, I don't have an exact statistic, but it is definitely in about 90% 95% of our students go on to a four-year college. So that's, we're very, very proud of that. We have wonderful high schools that are college preparatory.
And you have alumni who come back and visit and talk and tell about their experiences out in the world?
We do. We have many alumni who go back to teach in our schools.
Oh, okay.
That is very common. We even have some, situations where we have, 3 generations who have gone to the same school.
Right.
And, there's that pride and that it's more than just going to a school. It's a community. It's a lifestyle, and it's part of their life, the school. So it's really nice to see.
I see that. And the talented alumni are not coming back to high-paying jobs. They're coming back to classroom teaching jobs and really doing
But there's that passion there. And
Okay.
there's that sense of, really making a difference in a student's life. And
that's important.
Yeah.
Okay, and when we come back, we'll talk about what's attractive about schools and why parents do choose them and what the benefits are for them as they see it. So we'll be back in just a moment with more from Pam Lyons. Welcome back. We're talking about Catholic schools in the Archdiocese of San Francisco with Pamela Lyons, the Superintendent of Schools. Now, Pam, we're talking about academic excellence and the Makerspace and innovative ways of doing things. There's also the full array of curricular and extracurricular programs. There's art.
Absolutely. Our schools, even when a lot of our public schools were downsizing their arts programs, our schools, we feel we want to educate the whole child, and art is such an important part of that education. So our schools have, still have music, and they have, a fine art, and some have drama. So in the high schools have very rich art programs. So that's I think that's really important that we keep that in our schools.
Yeah, you're educating the whole person, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And of course that faith, that Catholicity at the center of everything, it helps us reach a child on a spiritual level that most schools are, can't really go there. So that's something that we really really appreciate.
I think that's true. You are concerned for the entirety of the human person and for deeper matters that kind of have to stay undiscussed in the secular realm, I think.
Yes.
But now, what about these schools attracts families? What do they find? If they say to you, if you do a survey, why are you in this Catholic school? What are the reasons that people give?
Well, I think whenever we do surveys, 2 things always come out. The top one is always the community, that our schools offer a community for the whole family. And it often revolves around church activities, but it also revolves around service activities, social activities. So it's a real community. Okay. Many of our parents, when I was principal, would say, they came in kindergarten and that's where they met their best friends. Okay, yeah. The parents. So, and then they would go, even after the kids graduated, they would continue.
The parents are friends.
Absolutely, because it really is a wonderful community. Okay. Also, a sense of safety and a sense that their children are cared for and nurtured as individuals, as God's beloved children, and that's very important. Obviously, a parent wants their child to be cared for, and so we're able to create a safe and nurturing environment in our schools.
I heard this about a certain Catholic school where they said, I asked somebody, why did you come from the public school to the Catholic school? And they said, my parents knew I wouldn't fall through the cracks somehow. I
think that's correct.
This is a kid who needed special attention, and he got it. He got it at this Catholic school.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Typically, we only have 1 or 2 grades per grade. So we'll have 2 first grades or 2 second grades. So we're not dealing with a huge number of students in our school. So students are able to be given a little bit more individual attention. And like I said, earlier, our teachers and our principals, they're so dead. They're there because they want to make a difference in these children's lives. Yeah. And so they take the time to really get to know the students, figure out, how can I meet this student as an individual, not just as a class of, 28 students. Okay, that's very interesting. And now, you're the new superintendent. Yes.
What are the initiatives? Well, how's your department going? What are you? What's your mission?
Well, I'm very excited. We have 3 new associate superintendents that are starting this month. One is coming from within the Archdiocese of San Francisco. She was a principal. And then I have 2 coming from outside. So it's kind of a nice balance of staying with the good things that we're doing here in the Archdiocese, but also bringing in some new ideas and some innovation. So we're really looking at 4 areas of our schools. Obviously, Catholic identity is always the very first thing we want to look at and stay focused on at all times. Also, though, academic excellence, very important in our schools.
Yes.
And I think because we're Catholic schools, we have even a greater responsibility for really academic excellence in all of our schools. But then also we need to look at stewardship as far as enrollment and finances and how do our schools, make the most of the funds they have. Yeah. And then, what is the structure, the organizational structure of our schools? I think we need to start looking at some different models. The traditional model of a parish school is, it's a strain sometimes on a pastor and having a principal. So some different types of models of governance is something that I think we'd like to take a look at.
Do you look elsewhere to find best practices, or are you inventing things yourself? What's the state of the art in this?
Well, I think traditionally our dioceses have been sort of these little silos, but certainly in California we're really working to break those open. All of the superintendents, there's 12 superintendents.
In the Diocese of California? In
the Diocese of California. And we meet regularly. We have monthly conference calls. And we work very closely with the California Conference of Bishops on different types of legislation that might be coming up that might affect our schools, affect all private schools. So we're really trying to get out of our own little silos and work together as a team.
That's very important. And there are professional associations of private schools that include Catholic schools, yeah? CAPSO and CAPE and these other ones.
Yes, I'm actually a board member of CAPSO. So I think it's so important.
A very reputable organization.
Absolutely, they do wonderful work. And then I think, I can't emphasize enough the importance of leadership. Leadership in our schools, I mean, it's really one of the most important aspects of a success of a school. And so we have many initiatives that we're really focusing on next year around leadership. So around, really forming our new leaders, having a 3-year induction program where they will work with people from my office to make sure that they have the skills that it takes. As we said earlier, it's not just being a teacher on steroids, right?
If you can't have the skills, you can't do the job.
Exactly.
We're in our last minute, and I want you to tell the people watching what message you want them to take away from this interview.
I think come join us. We have a lot of exciting things happening in our Catholic schools. And if you've never considered Catholic schools before, you look on our website, search for a school, visit a local school, and come join the wonderful work that's happening in the Archdiocese of San Francisco.
You want not only parents with children, but volunteers, donors?
Absolutely. There's a lot of need for tuition assistance. We would love, we just want people to experience the wonderful community that is our Catholic schools.
Thank you. Thank you, Pam, for being with us, and thank you for being with us on Mosaic.